Holy jeez. Every once in a while, an album just really blindsides you, and this is one of them. Let's find out why. The Dark of the City by Hibernal. So The Dark of the City is the fourth studio album by Hibernal, and Hibernal is it's a really interesting kind of a band. They do hail from Australia, and it's mainly being spearheaded by the lead musicianist of Mark Haley. What this album did, it challenged me in what music could do, and I love when albums do this. This happens very, very rarely. And I knew the moment that I was listening to this and really getting into it that I was dealing with something very special with Hibernal. Just their different approach to what music is and what music can do. On the surface, it's this math rock, post-rock type of music, very similar to, say, like a Tangerine Dream or Explosions in the Sky. But what sets these guys apart is that their entire album is a narrative, almost radio play. We've only got one or two narrative individuals, and everything on this album is spoken word in terms of lyrics. And the lyrics depict a very beautiful and a very vivid story. Now, each of the stories that Hibernal has done up until this point has always been some kind of a sci-fi, neo-noir sci-fi films like Blade Runner or of like a Dark City or those types of films. And Blade Runner is definitely the forerunner here of the best draw of comparison, at least within the storyline, as well as within the music, because the music here is one of the star performers. The two big star performers are definitely the narrative story, as well as the music that's in some ways backing it up. The first time I listened to this album, I was a little disappointed, especially with such a high rating that this guy had been receiving. When I first listened to it, I'm like, okay, the music's really nothing special, and sure, there's no lyrics, it's all spoken word, that's interesting, but really, what's the point? Like, I really didn't connect with it. And when I first was listening to it, it was mainly just background music, just to get myself experienced towards the music. So when I sat down and turned off everything else and just sat down with the music itself, that's when I really connected with it. And that's when I knew, as I said before, I was dealing with something very special. And when I was listening to this album, it forced me to think about music in a different way. I'm going to talk about the narrative form first and then get into the music. So the narrative form for me, I cannot help but love. I love radio plays and I love podcasts, so this was a natural fit for me. Now, the two spoken word actors on this, Scott Gentle and Felina Hopkins, and both of these individuals have appeared on past Hibernal albums before, so they're kind of used to the style of what's going on. So the storyline on this one is just beautiful. Like, I love these kind of sci-fi stories that deal with, what is humanity. Now, the overall story, just to summarize, is a field agent going off and hunting down this Nigrel, this creature-like identity that's very, very dangerous. They look and act just like humans, but they're stronger, they're more powerful, and they're out for blood, essentially. Nobody really knows where they came from or what they are. These two field agents, one definitely has a grudge against it, and the other one is her new partner in crime, and so the two kind of go on and explore this environment. And it's the environment that they're depicting that's so vivid and so rich. And the music definitely enhances that. Like, when I listen to this music and this album, I am transported right to that environment. And that is something that's very rare within a concept album, because when you're in a concept album, unlike, say, a movie, you don't have the visuals to help out with the storytelling, and that it's harder to insert yourself into the storyline within a concept album just because you don't have those visual assistants. But within this album, that actually works to its advantage, and I feel everything that's being depicted here. That's not only with the descriptions provided with the narrative form, but that's also with the music that's just elevating it. Like, the music is very similar to, say, like the Daft Punk soundtrack from the Tron Legacy album, or the Tangerine Dream music that was being applied to the Blade Runner soundtrack. So being inserted right into this album was very, very easy for me, and each time I listened to it, I revisited that area. Like, I can very crystal clear picture the dockside, the beach that they're on, the different transportations that the characters use, the items that they interact with are all very visual not only within the descriptions that the narrative form is giving, but with that music that's being enhanced by it.
We board the closest shuttle and head out toward the east side. The cabin is empty apart from one late-night commuter making his way home. Trask stands by the window watching the darkened buildings slide past.
And that does bleed very well within the actual music that's found within it. I'm not going to go through track by track and talk about the music because that wouldn't do it justice. The album as a whole is one piece, and by taking it out and commenting on it track by track, it's almost like taking apart a book and commenting on it chapter by chapter. It just doesn't really make sense here. What I love about the music, just speaking about the music itself, is the build-ups that it has. I love how a lot of these songs start off very slow and very somber while they're building the environment, this world building, and then as we're getting to different plot pieces and different plot turns, that's when the music really hits you over the head. There's a lot of points on this album where the music definitely takes center stage. For the most part, I feel like the story is taking a lot of the center stage, which I am completely fine with. But it does dial back a lot of the times for the music to really shine, and that is where Mark, as well as the bass player of Roland Salt. When I first read that, I'm like, Roland Salt, isn't that the Flower Kings guy? No, Roland Salt. That was the one thing that I did want to comment on. It's just the bass playing on this album is just superb. Getting into the grooves on this guy, he knows how to carry a song, and he does so because a lot of the times you have to be in the background when the narrative story is taking place. So he was able to dial it back just enough so that the music is in the background, but not so much that you're not even paying attention to it. It's always in the back of your mind, and on repeated listens you can concentrate on the album as the narrative form is taking place. So fantastic balance between that within all parties.
Give me a second and I'll look up the target list we were working on yesterday.
Forget about that. I'm going after target 247.
What? Again? Why are you so obsessed with that thing?
So I mean, I've already gushed about this album. Some of the flaws that I could see about this album, and this is nitpicking, because with every album I always try to find out some ways that the band can improve. I wonder if they hugged a little too closely to their usual playing styles. I mean, the story is very similar to a lot of the stories that have come before this. The playing style is also very similar, but it's one of those, if it's not broken, why fix it? Like, if they put out another album that was very similar to this, of course I would go out and listen to it because I love being submerged in this type of an environment. The other thing is that this album is definitely an acquired taste, or one that's harder to get into because it is so different. This isn't something that you would normally just put on for like a dinner party or even when a bunch of friends are going around. You know, coming off of the street and approaching this album, even I was faulted for just writing this off as another album because after I listened to Replacements, I didn't even listen to the rest of their discography. I'm like, this is kind of boring, whatever. So you kind of need to approach this with a different type of mindset. Whenever music styles do that, I always grab on and I always take the time now to really get into it. So I think that needs to be applied here. That's really the only criticism or the only kind of knock that I have against it, and it does fall in that box of, but if it's not broken, don't fix it. So even that works to its advantage. So overall, I have to praise this album for being something that's even different within such a vast musical landscape as we have today. I'm definitely giving it one of my highest ratings, which is, I love this album with my whole heart, and I expect to revisit it time and time again. I look forward to revisiting this environment all the time, and just the amount of inspiration I'm getting from it is just fantastic. So definitely check it out. It gets my seal of approval, and go into it with an open mind if you're not used to this type of music. So that's about it from The Dark of the City by Hibernal. I probably mispronounced that a number of times. Hibernal? Anyway, what did you guys think of it? If you've had a listen to it and you're a big fan of this album, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Especially if you're a big fan of this, what are other albums or other artists that utilize this type of radio play style? Let me know of those because I really want to hear them down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.